A broken man lived alone in mountains for 12 years after losing his family in fire. Then he found a crying kidnapped girl in forest. What happened next shocked everyone. This wild man's act of kindness changed 2 lives forever. Prepare tissues, this story will break your heart. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. Deep in the mountains of Alaska, there lived a man named Jack Hunter. People called him the Wild Man. He had long black hair, a thick beard and eyes like a wolf. Jack lived alone in a small wooden cabin far from any town or city. He had been living in the wilderness for 12 years. Jack was not always wild. Once he was a normal man with a wife and 2 children. He worked as a teacher in a small town school. His wife Maria was a nurse, and they had a son Tommy who was 7 years old and a daughter Lisa who was 5. They were a happy family living a simple life. But one winter night, everything changed forever. Jack had gone to the store to buy milk and bread for breakfast. When he came back home, he found his house on fire. The flames were so big and hot that he could not get inside. He screamed for his family, but no one answered. The fire department came, but it was too late. Maria, Tommy, and Lisa had died in the fire. The police said it was an accident, a problem with the old heater. But Jack knew better. He had seen 3 men running away from his house when he came back from the store. Jack tried to tell the police about the men, but they did not believe him. They said he was in shock and imagining things. The men who killed his family were never caught. Jack's heart broke into a million pieces. After the funeral, Jack could not stay in the town anymore. Everything reminded him of his dead family. He sold everything he owned, took his rifle and some supplies, and went into the mountains. He wanted to be alone with his pain and anger. For 12 years, Jack lived like a wild animal. He hunted deer and rabbits for food. He caught fish from the cold mountain streams. He grew vegetables in a small garden behind his cabin. He had no friends, no phone, no connection to the outside world. He only went to town once a month to buy bullets and medicine. The townspeople were afraid of Jack. When they saw him walking down the main street with his long hair and wild eyes, mothers would pull their children inside. Shop owners would watch him carefully, thinking he might steal something. But Jack never caused trouble. He just bought what he needed and went back to his mountain. Jack's only companions were the wild animals. He could talk to bears without being afraid. Wolves would come to his cabin at night, and he would share his food with them. Birds would land on his shoulders like he was a tree. The animals trusted him because they could sense his broken heart. One cold morning in November, Jack was hunting for deer when he heard a strange sound. It was a crying sound like a child in pain. Jack followed the sound through the thick trees until he came to a small clearing. There, sitting under a big pine tree, was a little girl. She looked about 6 years old, the same age his daughter Lisa would have been if she was still alive. The girl was wearing a torn pink dress and had no shoes on her feet. Her lips were blue from the cold and she was shaking. Jack's heart stopped. For a moment he thought he was seeing a ghost. The little girl looked so much like his Lisa with her blonde hair and blue eyes. "Hello, little one," Jack said softly, trying not to scare her. "What are you doing here all alone?" The little girl looked up at Jack with frightened eyes. She saw his wild appearance and started crying harder. "Please don't hurt me, mister," she whispered. Jack felt his heart breaking all over again. This innocent child was afraid of him just like everyone else. He sat down on the ground far away from her so she would not be scared. "I won't hurt you, sweetheart. My name is Jack. What's your name?" "Amy," the little girl said through her tears. "Amy is a beautiful name. Amy, why are you out here in the forest? Where are your mommy and daddy?" Amy's eyes filled with more tears. "Bad men took me from my house. They put me in a car and drove me here. They said they would come back for me, but that was 2 days ago. I'm so hungry and cold." Jack's blood turned to ice. Bad men had taken this little girl just like bad men had killed his family. The same rage that had been burning in his chest for 12 years suddenly became a fire. "Amy, those bad men are not coming back. But don't worry. I'm going to take care of you now." Jack slowly moved closer to Amy. He took off his warm jacket and put it around her small body. She was so cold that she stopped being afraid and let him help her. "Are you going to hurt me too?" Amy asked. "No, baby girl. I'm going to protect you. No one will ever hurt you while I'm here." Jack picked up Amy gently and carried her back to his cabin. She was so light like a little bird. On the way, she fell asleep in his strong arms, finally feeling safe. At the cabin, Jack gave Amy hot soup and warm milk. He found some old blankets and made a soft bed for her near the fireplace. Amy ate the food like she had not eaten in days. "Jack, are you going to take me home to my mommy and daddy?" Amy asked. "Where do you live, sweetheart?" "In Fairbanks." My daddy works at the bank and my mommy teaches at school. They must be so worried about me. Jack knew Fairbanks was a big city about 100 miles away from his mountain. He had not been to a city in 12 years. But he knew he had to take Amy back to her family. That night, Amy slept peacefully for the first time in 3 days. Jack sat by the fire watching her sleep. She looked so much like his Lisa that it hurt his heart. But it was a good hurt, like remembering something beautiful. In the morning, Jack made breakfast for Amy, pancakes with honey and hot chocolate. Amy smiled for the first time since Jack found her. Jack, you make good food. Are you a daddy too? Jack's eyes filled with tears. I was a daddy once. I had a little girl just like you. Where is she now? She went to heaven with her mommy and brother. Amy's little face became sad. She climbed onto Jack's lap and hugged him tight. I'm sorry your family went to heaven. But now you have me. Jack hugged Amy back and cried for the first time in 12 years. This little girl had somehow melted the ice around his heart. Amy, I'm going to take you back to your family today. But first, I need to ask you some questions about the bad men who took you. Amy told Jack everything she could remember. 3 men in a black car had taken her from her backyard while she was playing. They wore masks, but she remembered that one man had a scar on his hand and another man had a gold tooth. Jack wrote down everything Amy said. He was going to find these men and make them pay for what they did. Jack packed supplies for the journey to Fairbanks. He had an old truck that he used to go to town. It had not been driven far in years, but it still worked. Before they left, Jack did something he had not done in 12 years. He cut his long hair and shaved his beard. He put on clean clothes. He wanted to look normal when he met Amy's parents. Jack, you look different, Amy said when she saw him. Do I look better? You look like a real daddy now. The drive to Fairbanks took 4 hours through the mountain roads. Amy sat next to Jack, talking about her family and her pet cat named Whiskers. Jack loved listening to her sweet voice. It reminded him of the happiness he had lost. When they reached Fairbanks, Jack saw that the whole city was looking for Amy. There were posters with her picture on every street corner. Police cars were everywhere. Jack drove straight to the police station. When he walked in with Amy, everyone stopped and stared. This is Amy Wilson, Jack announced. She was kidnapped 3 days ago. I found her in the mountains. A police officer ran to get Amy's parents. Within minutes, a man and woman came running into the police station crying with joy. Amy? My baby, the woman cried, grabbing Amy into her arms. Mommy? Daddy? This is Jack. He saved me and took care of me, Amy said. Amy's parents, Robert and Jennifer Wilson, looked at Jack with tears in their eyes. Thank you, Robert said, shaking Jack's hand. Thank you for bringing our daughter back to us. We thought we would never see her again. How can we ever repay you? Jennifer asked. You don't need to repay me. Just love her and keep her safe, Jack said. The police wanted to ask Jack questions about where he found Amy and what she had told him about her kidnappers. Jack gave them all the information he had. We've been looking for these men for months, Detective Sarah Collins said. They've kidnapped 3 other children in the past year. With Amy's description and the location where you found her, we might finally be able to catch them. Jack stayed in Fairbanks for 3 days to help the police. He told them about every trail and hiding place in the mountains where the kidnappers might be hiding. Amy's parents invited Jack to stay at their house, but he said no. He was not used to being around people anymore. Instead, he stayed at a small motel. Every day, Amy came to visit Jack at the motel with her parents. She would sit on his lap and tell him about her day at school and her friends. Jack bought her ice cream and toys. For those 3 days he felt like a father again. On the 4th day the police found the kidnappers hiding in an old mine in the mountains. Jack had told them about that mine. When the police arrested the 3 men, they found evidence of other kidnappings. These men had been stealing children and selling them to bad people. The leader of the kidnappers was a man named Bruno Martinez. He had the gold tooth that Amy remembered. His partner was Mike Stevens, who had the scar on his hand. The 3rd man was Tony Miller, who was the driver. All 3 men were sent to prison for life. They would never hurt another child again. When the case was closed, Jack prepared to go back to his mountain. He had done what he came to do. Amy was safe with her family and the bad men were in jail. Amy cried when Jack told her he was leaving. Please don't go, Jack. I want you to stay and be my daddy too. Jack's heart was breaking, but he knew he did not belong in the city. He was still a wild man inside. I have to go back to my home in the mountains, sweetheart. But I will never forget you. You gave me something I thought I had lost forever. What did I give you? You reminded me how to love again. Jack hugged Amy one last time and walked toward his truck. Amy ran after him. Jack, wait. Will I ever see you again? Jack looked at this little girl who had changed his life. If you ever need me, Amy, just call my name to the wind. I'll hear you no matter how far away you are. Jack drove back to his mountain, but something was different now. The anger that had burned in his chest for 12 years was gone. Instead, there was warmth and peace. Over the next few months, Jack started to change. He began taking better care of himself. He fixed up his cabin and planted more vegetables. He even got a radio so he could listen to music and news. One day in spring, Jack was working in his garden when he heard a car driving up the mountain road. No one ever came to visit him. Jack grabbed his rifle and waited. A blue car stopped in front of his cabin. Jack was amazed to see Robert and Jennifer Wilson getting out of the car with Amy. Jack. Amy screamed and ran to hug him. What are you doing here? Jack asked, amazed. We came to see you, Jennifer said. Amy talks about you every day. She misses you so much. We wanted to thank you again, Robert said. And to ask you something. Jack invited them into his cabin. It was small and simple, but it was clean and comfortable. Amy ran around looking at everything. Jack, this is where you live? It's like a fairy tale house in the forest, Amy said. Jennifer made coffee while Robert and Jack talked. Jack, we've been thinking a lot about what you did for our family. You saved Amy's life and you helped catch those criminals. But more than that, Amy loves you. She draws pictures of you every day. She tells everyone at school about her friend Jack who lives in the mountains. She's a special little girl, Jack said. We know you like living up here, Jennifer said. But we were wondering if maybe you would like to visit us sometimes. Amy would love to show you her school and her friends. Jack looked at Amy, who was holding a picture she had drawn. It showed Jack and Amy holding hands under a rainbow. I drew this for you, Jack. It's you and me being happy together. Jack felt his eyes fill with tears. This little girl and her family were offering him something he thought he could never have again, love and belonging. I would like that very much, Jack said. From that day on, Jack visited the Wilson family once a month. Amy would show him her school projects and introduce him to her friends as, my special friend Jack who saved me. Jack even started helping other people. When hikers got lost in the mountains, he would help the rescue teams find them. When hunters were hurt, he would give them first aid. The townspeople slowly stopped being afraid of him and started calling him Mountain Jack, with respect instead of fear. 1 year after he found Amy, Jack was invited to a special ceremony. The mayor of Fairbanks wanted to give him an award for his bravery and for helping catch the kidnappers. Jack did not want to go to the ceremony. He did not like crowds or attention. But Amy begged him to come. Please, Jack. I want everyone to know how brave and good you are. So Jack put on his best clothes and went to the ceremony. There were hundreds of people there, including the families of the other children who had been saved when the kidnappers were caught. Jack Hunter, the mayor said, you are a true hero. You saved Amy Wilson and helped us catch dangerous criminals. You proved that real heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they live in the mountains and have big hearts. Everyone clapped and cheered. Jack felt embarrassed by all the attention, but he was also proud. For the first time in 13 years he felt like he belonged somewhere. After the ceremony, many people came to talk to Jack. They thanked him and asked him about his life in the mountains. Jack realized that people were not afraid of him anymore. They saw him as a protector, not a threat. Amy stood next to Jack the whole time, holding his hand and smiling proudly. That's my Jack, she told everyone. He's the bravest man in the world. As the years passed, Jack's life continued to change. He moved from his small cabin to a bigger house still in the mountains but closer to town. Amy visited him every weekend. She helped him plant flowers and vegetables. She taught him how to use a computer so they could send emails to each other. When Amy turned 10, Jack surprised her by adopting a puppy from the animal shelter. It was a golden retriever that Amy named Sunny. Now you have a friend to keep you company when I'm not here, Amy said. I already have the best friend in the world, Jack replied, hugging Amy. Jack also started working with the police as a guide and tracker. His knowledge of the mountains helped them solve many cases. He found missing people, caught criminals who tried to hide in the wilderness, and helped during natural disasters. The angry, broken man who had run away to the mountains was gone. In his place was a man who had found his purpose again, protecting the innocent and helping others. On Amy's 12th birthday, she asked Jack a question that surprised him. Jack, do you think your family in heaven is proud of you? Jack thought about his wife Maria and his children Tommy and Lisa. He had spent so many years angry about their deaths. But now he felt different. Yes, Amy. I think they are proud. They would want me to help people and be happy again. I think they sent me to you, Amy said. So you wouldn't be sad and alone anymore. Jack looked at this wise little girl who had saved his life just as much as he had saved hers. Maybe she was right. Maybe his family had sent her to him. Amy was now 13 years old and in high school. She was smart and kind, just like Jack always knew she would be. She wanted to become a police officer when she grew up so she could help find missing children. I want to be like you, Jack. I want to help people who are lost and scared. Jack could not have been more proud of her. One day, Amy came to visit Jack with big news. Jack, guess what? I wrote a story about you for my English class. It's called The Wild Man Who Saved Me. My teacher wants to submit it to a writing contest. Jack read Amy's story and felt his heart swell with emotion. She had written about how a wild man living in the mountains had rescued her and become her hero. But more than that, she had written about how she had helped heal his broken heart. Amy, this is beautiful. You are such a good writer. It's a true story, Jack. The best stories always are. Amy's story won the writing contest. It was published in the local newspaper, and people from all over the state read about Jack and Amy's friendship. Soon, reporters came to interview Jack. At first, he did not want to talk to them. But Amy convinced him that telling their story might help other people. Maybe there are other people out there who are hurt and angry like you were, Amy said. Maybe they need to know that it's possible to heal and find happiness again. So Jack told his story to the world. He talked about losing his family, running away to the mountains, and finding Amy. He talked about how one little girl's love had brought him back to life. The story touched many people's hearts. Jack received hundreds of letters from people who had lost their families, from people who felt alone and broken. They thanked him for showing them that it was possible to survive grief and find purpose again. Jack answered every letter. He told people that healing takes time, but it is possible. He told them to hold on to hope and to help others whenever they could. Amy was now 16 years old and about to graduate from high school early. She had been accepted to college to study criminal justice. Jack was so proud of her accomplishments. I'm going to miss you when you go to college, Jack told her. I'm not going far, Jack. And I'll come home every weekend to visit you. You're stuck with me forever. Jack laughed. I wouldn't have it any other way. On Amy's graduation day, Jack sat in the audience with Robert and Jennifer Wilson. When Amy's name was called and she walked across the stage, Jack felt like the proudest father in the world. After the ceremony, Amy ran to Jack and hugged him tight. I did it, Jack. I graduated. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. You can do anything you set your mind to. I have something for you, Amy said, handing Jack a small wrapped box. Inside the box was a silver locket. When Jack opened it, he saw a picture of himself and Amy from her 16th birthday party. Look at the back, Amy said. On the back of the locket were engraved the words, To Jack, my hero and second father. Love always, Amy. Jack felt tears running down his face. This little girl who had been afraid of him in the forest so many years ago now called him her second father. Amy, this is the most beautiful gift I've ever received. You gave me my life back, Jack. This is just a small way of saying thank you. That night, Jack sat on his porch looking at the stars. He thought about the journey that had brought him to this moment. He had lost everything and thought his life was over. But Amy had shown him that even the most broken hearts could heal. Even the wildest man could learn to love again. Jack put on the locket Amy had given him. Inside was not just Amy's picture, but also a small photo of his original family, Maria, Tommy, and Lisa. Amy had somehow found the old photo and put it in there too. Now all the people I love are with me always, Jack whispered to the stars. The wild man of the mountains had found his way home. Not to a place but to the people who loved him. And in saving Amy he had saved himself. Years later, when people asked Jack about his life, he would always say the same thing. I thought I was just a broken man living alone in the wilderness. But I learned that sometimes when we help others we help ourselves. Sometimes when we save someone else they save us too. Amy Wilson Hunter, she had taken Jack's last name when he legally adopted her on her 18th birthday, became a famous FBI agent who specialized in finding missing children. She saved hundreds of children during her career and credited her success to everything Jack had taught her about tracking, survival, and never giving up hope. Jack lived to be 90 years old, surrounded by Amy, her children, and grandchildren. He died peacefully in his sleep, with Amy holding his hand. At his funeral, Amy read a letter that Jack had written to her years before. My dearest Amy, you came into my life when I thought it was over. You showed me that love is stronger than anger, hope is stronger than despair, and family is not just about blood, it's about choosing to care for each other. Thank you for saving an old wild man and teaching him how to be human again. I love you forever, you're Jack. There was not a dry eye in the church. Jack Hunter, the wild man of the mountains, had touched more lives than he ever knew. And it all started with one act of kindness toward a scared little girl in the forest. The end of Jack's story was really just the beginning. His legacy lived on in Amy and in all the people they helped together. Love had won over hate, hope had won over despair, and a wild man had become a hero. Sometimes the most broken people become the strongest. Sometimes the most lost people become the best guides. And sometimes when we think our story is over, it's really just beginning.